Right, okay, everyone. Just going to have a look at this software called Pixlr. So, all the W's, pixlr.com at the top in your browser, and you will hopefully get something that looks like this. Obviously, I'm recording this way in advance, so the images and interface might look a little bit different, but the most important thing is that you get to this stage here. You can click on the Advanced Pixlr E for editor, and it will open up something like this. And you can open your image and put it all in that way. But to be very honest, I think it might be nice, quite nice, sorry, I'll say that again, to actually log in and create an account. So obviously I've already got this because I've set it up in preparation for online learning, but all you do is just click on your sign up now and you'll be able to put all your details in there. One thing I'll say is please use your college ID so that your personal stuff doesn't get spammed all over the place. But if you click on it, it will sort of give you the opportunity to stick your email in there and password, and then you'll be able to sign up. Okay, so we'll just kind of go back through them stages. Sorry if I do the old login, and there we go. So it changes nothing, but at least you will be able to access everything from your sort of desktop and area. And as I said, it all sort of views in this same sort of way. Now it is simple, it is pretty straightforward, and I'm just going to quickly show you some of the areas and aspects of some of the features that we find in here. So obviously, sort of locate and find everything um, that you're going to need to do in terms of your editing. So I'm just going to go into here and I've got my originals that I'm going to take, and I've also got some of my source. So I'm just going to use some of my sourced images to do a little bit of editing this morning, okay? So I'll choose this image of LG. As you know, I'm just going to do something on Britpop for my example of my own magazine and the influences of fashion, and I'm going to primarily focus my angle on Gallagher's sort of influence in that sort of Britpop and fashion sense. If you can remember sort of from last year, you'll look at the interface of this software and you'll be able to see that it is extremely similar to the way that Photoshop will sort of operate. Everything's down the left hand side in terms of your tools and everything that you kind of need. In fact, some of the things are actually called the same, as you can kind of see there with the lasso. Yeah, and it'll all kind of go from there. Obviously, you've got your layers over on the right hand side that you can build up. I think because you're probably just editing one image at a time, you won't need to worry too much with the layers. Unless you are specifically building something yourself. So always remember to use your layers and make sure that they are in tune and they're in tie, because it just makes it 10 times easier when you're actually editing individual aspects and elements of it. Okay, so across the top, obviously we have everything in terms of your image. You can change your image size, the canvas size as well. You can rotate everything sort of 90 degrees and 180. You can flip it vertically, horizontally, and it's just a simple clicking on it and it should sort of do it like so. You'll see just up here where it says about unlocking. Unlocking is always a good way to go about things because you can manipulate and edit everything like so. You'll notice that the sort of little lock has removed now, so you can do your full editing of this image. I'll just flip it back because I still want it in that sort of view. So we go from it from there. You've got all of your layers that will kind of fit into your editing. You can flatten your image if you've got multiple layers in using that option. You've got your select to kind of go and select points in there. And you've got all of your adjustments as well. Everything that you'll find in here is pretty much what's over here as well. It's just obviously rather than going through the scenic route of choosing the options from the top, you can just choose your brushes and your strokes and all of the filters that you need there. It will give you all other options as well. You've got the opportunity to create blurs and duplicate layers. You can stick vignettes on there, and you can merge everything. You can kind of see, ooh, fancy, in whichever sort of way you want it to go. And it just sort of adds that very Instagram feel to sticking a vignette over your image. And all you simply do is just apply it, and it works like that. Obviously, there's so many different parts of your adjustments. You've got your brightness and contrast, which is pretty self-explanatory. So to highlight things and sort of darken areas or brighten areas, whichever way that you're kind of going, just to have that more effect on it. Again, we have your bits of hue and your saturations where you can bring out certain parts of the saturation and make it ever so slightly varied with different colours, as you can kind of see there. Make it a bit more green, make it a little bit more blue to the tint of it, and then apply it or cancel it should you decide you don't like it. You've got your curves and you've got your levels, extremely similar to the ways in which Photoshop will work. But it will give you that opportunity just to kind of bring and highlight things in certain areas and colours. And as it says, double click to add or remove a point. So let's just go with a little bit of white and I'll just quickly show you. Pop in your points like so. The best way to look at this is imagine your image like that it fits the same sort of squares on it. And you can brighten parts of it, lower parts of it, as you can kind of see, just like so. And it'll amend and change it however you want. And we'll just stick it and apply in there. So that does it with your whites, and obviously you can do it with all of your individual highlights and colours that might be in the image itself. Just obviously just playing about with things and seeing how it all kind of works. And we'll just go for something ridiculous like that. Okay, you've got your other options. As I said, you've got your brush tools and you can kind of draw over the top of it however you want. If you're using some of your layers as well, you might be able to use your fill tool. So, you could just pop just an empty layer in there, drag it and drop it underneath. Remember, it's just a little bit of manipulating of your layers, just dragging and dropping them. And obviously you can fill it however you want, depending on what sort of effect that you're going for. Okay. Another thing you might want to kind of look at is obviously is looking at cutting out images and using the images in that sort of way. Okay, and you have your lasso tool where you can kind of go around the edge and it will delete it all. You've got your cutout mask, so you can kind of drop all your points around it. You've got your opportunities to crop areas and aspects of your image to make it a little bit more fitting to how it may fit on your front cover or maybe on your article pages as well. And you can kind of do it like that. Your crop will work. Oh, sorry. And you'll be able just to delete certain parts of your image. Personally though, I would normally go with the lasso tool where you can just simply sort of draw around your image like so. And we get back to the beginning. And we can normally just backspace it. And if you backspace it, it will get rid of that part that you have basically cut out from your image. So you'll notice underneath that it's white, okay? And that's because I've dropped that layer 2, that plain black, sorry, that's that plain white colour onto the background. You can just get rid of that layer just by clicking and backspacing it, or you can hide the layer like so and see how it comes out. And again, if you just want to use your lasso tool, you can go around and do it all sort of freehand like so. There you've got all your little moving ants, all your little moving white ants around your image. And generally, if you sort of delete that, it will go from it in your image like that. There's other options in there which are quite nice to sort of cut out images and make it a little bit more intricate. So if you use your polygon from there, that's a nice little click and move. So you see you've got your moving line like so. You'll be able to click and click and click, and it doesn't sort of put that pressure of using it a bit more freehand. So if you're using like your pad on your laptop or your Mac or whatever you're using, just makes it a little bit easier. So you can click around it, whack on backspace, and it will get rid of your the section that you've kind of deleted there. There's other options of using your magnetic, and it kind of sticks to pixels, so it will sort of pick up the pixels in that sort of way, and will sometimes and often go into certain areas and aspects that you don't want it to, so be very careful if you decided to do that one. I just personally find that the polygon is a much easier way to do things. Okay, so there's a little bit of cutting things out for your images and obviously getting things to fit and match to something that you need just a little bit more. I said before that these are some of the other options that you might find in there. So if you want to sort of blur an area of your image, no problem at all. You can change your brush and your stroke. So you can change the size of things and make it just a little bit larger in terms, that's probably way too much. In fact, sorry. Let's drop that back down a bit more so we can see it on screen. And you'll see that changes the size of the brush, and sometimes it will make a significant, like it kind of has done there, if you want to blur or sort of get rid of a certain part or change the focus a little bit on some of your photographs. If you've done it in that way, maybe you want a more shallow depth of field, or maybe just want to focus on Liam's face there a bit more. And obviously you've kind of got your strength and the sort of intensity of using that option. Okay. You've got your dodge and your burn if you want to sort of darken areas as well. Again, it's just something that you might decide to do. It all comes down to your own personal ambitions for your photographs and what sort of desired effect that you want. So again, you can change your brush size, make it a little bit larger, change the sort of increase on that, and might sort of darken things or lighten things. Obviously I've gone for the lighten part there. You might click on the darken side and it will darken things just a little bit more for you. Just again, depends on what sort of desired effect you're going for. Your sponge and your colour, if you want to kind of bring a bit more vibrancy into a certain area or certain aspect of it, you can do in that sort of way. So again, just the same sort of process of using those tools. Okay, your traditional sort of magic wand will work perfectly with selecting a larger area of your image if you want to kind of get rid of it. So if you click on your magic wand, it's the same sort of way that it will work in Photoshop as well. Just pop onto that, and you normally just click an area. Wow, it's done tons. So that's kind of picked up through the pixels. The best way to be able to do this is if you have a very plain looking colour. It will pick up more of it, so you don't have to cut around in more intricate form. It will normally stick to the pixels with your with the sort of magic wand. Now, if you want to do that, I'll just sort of click off that for a sec so we get back to normal. You have something up here with your tolerance, and the tolerance itself will sort of link to the individual pixel. So if you drop it down much more, so let's just do it on 4 there, the tolerance is much less. So I could fall flat on my face here if this doesn't work, but it has done. It reduces the tolerance, and all that simply does is it minimises the amount of pixels that it's picking up. So obviously if you whack that all the way up and you make it much higher, it will pick up more variation for your pixels in your image. And as you know, all the little pixels are all the little individual squares of colour that build up your image. That's the best way to kind of look at things. So I've reduced all that down, and I've just simply backspaced it, and it's got rid of it like that. I know it looks absolutely and utterly horrendous, but this is just a quick way of showing you how to do things. All right. So that's really some of the basic features in there. It's nice and easy to work through, in all honesty. It's pretty sustainable with what you create. The website itself generally works and runs quite easily. And the most important thing that you want to look at here is your process of going through things. So I've just sort of shown you how to do this. The big thing to remember is as you're doing bits and pieces and as you're trying things out, keep taking screenshots. Take screenshots of what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's one of the most important things. A final sort of thing that I'll say, and you might have seen before when I sort of messed up and had the white background when I cut it out, always think about your layers. And if you have got multiple layers on there, make sure that the appropriate one is selected for the editing that you want to do to it. So if you want to cut some bits and pieces out, no problem at all. Just make sure that your layer is appropriately selected. I'm just going to sort of get rid of that because I don't need it. I don't need it whatsoever. Another sort of part and thing that might be quite useful for you is this section. Sorry, it doesn't drop out anymore. This section on your history. You'll just be able to see down in the corner. Ooh, if I can grab it. All of the stuff that I've done, everything that I've kind of been through there works with your history. And if it works in the same sort of way as Photoshop, sometimes you can click on a certain part of your previous edit, everything that you've done, and it sort of goes back to that stage, which I think in terms of showing your development is a really important thing, because it will give you that chance to go back to things and think, damn it, I didn't do a screenshot. Go back on the history, okay? Go back on the history and it will get to that stage where you've done something. So let's go almost back to the beginning where I stuck that little bit of a vignette on there. And that is almost that first sort of effect. Again, if I click on the vignette, It gets rid of that editing that I did with the brightness and contrast. So it is a really, really, really useful tool to show your workings and show your evidence. And if it works in natural terms, we should just be able to go back to that layer on your history and it will show everything that I've done so far. I think and I hope that is probably more than enough to be going off. You might kind of, sorry if I just go back to that. Damn adverts. You might be able to choose some of your filters as well. Okay, and what I sort of mean by that is doing more intricate parts to your image. So as you can see there, I've cut everything out that I want to, but what I want to do to give that effect and that desire when it comes to my for my layout for my actual magazine pages, whether it's the cover or the article page, you can change this to make it stand out. So for example, if you think about your planning and the ideas that you've got for it, maybe you've got a white background and actually you want LG to stand out a little bit more on your page. So if you've seen there, if you click on your colour and you change that to something a little bit more desirable for what you want, you move your cursor around and you'll see up here how it changes the colour. You can change the actual colours within it this way to something more desirable that you want for it. I'm just going to go with black to begin with, okay? Because hopefully from there, it will show a little bit of a blacker outline. You can reduce the size of it so it trims it in a bit more. If you want it a bit more bolder, you can do it like so. But it will just sort of add that outline to it. You can feather it a bit more so it makes it a little bit smoother. I know you can't see it too well, but it does make it smoother. And you can also change your opacity as well. So you can change your opacity all the way down on that side. Okay. So if I apply that, you'll see just that little outline as to what I want to stand out on the image when I put it into my pages just a little bit more. Okay. Hopefully that will sort of give you everything that you kind of need. There shouldn't be much more other than that is a little bit more advantageous in terms of your skills and your practical work. So just work through some of these. You've got all these filters that add an effect. You've got all the different aspects of your adjustments that are in there as well. Selecting certain areas or pixels. If you want to work around as well with some of your layers and you want to add masks, some more advanced features, no problem whatsoever. If you want to rotate, flip, change it vertically, you can do it this way. And you do have some other sort of features that are in here. I won't go for every single solitary one because we'll be here forever, and I hope it's done a little bit of it for you. The clone tool is quite a nice one because you can select your clone and you can change your size, and sometimes what you can do, you can select a certain part of the image itself, okay? And with that one in mind, you can select that and it sort of replicates it somewhere else, as you see. So it's taken that bit of LG's jacket there, or maybe a little bit of his hand, as you can see, and it will paste a certain part of it over wherever you want it. And if you do that, sometimes the best way to kind of use it is if you want to duplicate a part of the image and put it somewhere else. It's more of an advanced feature, as I said, but it might just be something that might be a little bit more useful for you. Okay, so that is pretty much it in terms of doing the editing. My final thing that I want to say to you is all about saving. And I know you might go, well, I know how to save an image, it's absolutely fine. Now, I would have mentioned this in class in the lesson, but the important thing, once you've completed your edit of your image, you may have parts in here that you want to have this background transparent so that when it's placed onto the page, you have no background or you have no other additional part of the image that is showing up on your page. As we've done all the cutting out with the lasso tool. So if you click on File and you sort of go down to Save, all right, it will open up this other box. So please stick with me as best as you possibly can here. Obviously, you've got your file name, and that's just a file that I've taken of LG from the internet. So you might just say LG cutout image for article. Something like that will do nicely. The Most important thing now is that you choose it as a PNG. It has to be a PNG file because that is what gets rid of the background, okay? All you've got to type in on Google is coffee, something like that, PNG, and it will show you all examples of images of coffee that have the background taken out. So it must be a PNG file. It will generally do it in the same sort of size as what you initially imported it. So then them dimensions will be exactly the same as what you took from the internet, and you'll be able to use it like so. So if you click on download, it will drop it straight down there into your downloads, wherever that may be on your computer itself. So what you just need to sort of remember from there is then pop that into a folder that's going to be nice and simple and straightforward to use. And then I will show you how we import that then into LucidPress, and you'll be able to use that image however you like. Okay guys, so that's pretty much the basic on using a bit of Pixlr. Only 10 or 15 minute tutorial on how to use some of the features. If you've got any questions, as always, just drop me a line. If there's anything that you want to try to work out how to do, again, just drop me a little message in email or on Teams, and I'll get back to you with as much information as I possibly can on helping you. Obviously, it's online software and there will be limitations to these, so bear with it and stick with it as much and as best as you possibly can. And remember, keep taking your screenshots of everything that you do. And then we will pop all of them onto your production diary. Okay guys, thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. But the most important thing is you showing creativity in using all of these different aspects of layers and filters and getting the desired effect for your images from the internet, and also the photographs that you've taken as well. Do some editing of those to show more creativity. Okay guys, thank you very much for sticking with me, and we'll catch up soon.